Hey, Seminole State family. What is a scholarly article and how do we successfully scour said scholarly articles? We'll find out in just a moment.
Oh, what was that? A big switcheroo there.
There was a switcheroo situation going on. Hello, welcome. It's Wednesday, 4 p.m. I'm Nicole from the library, and per usual, as usual, not always, because someone was missing last week and we missed him.
Aww. That's me. Hi, I'm Jason. I'm over here, and then Ross.
Hi, Ross, checking in.
All right, so we are back with another research rally, talking about librarian-y type topics, campus events and news sprinkled in. And today we're focusing on explaining scholarly articles. So, something that's in our wheelhouse. Our wheelhouse. So something that we're very used to talking about with students. Scholarly articles, students are assigned them all the time. We'll talk a little bit about peer review versus scholarly and where they fall together. And just explain it because, we talked before the program and we've been helping students that, they're asking questions about them because they're being assigned them. And we're like, oh, let's go over this. Now, today is the end of which term?
This is the A. A is ending. You have an A and a B and then a 12, right?
Okay. So if you're an A term FYE course and you need credit, definitely let us know in the chat or stay till the end and click the link. But yeah, like if you're not an A term, you'll be probably having papers coming up. We've talked to lots of students that have this going on and they need scholarly articles for their assignments. So we're going to talk about it today. So Ross, you're kind of a scholar. That's what your little thing is.
Oh, I see. Kind of a scholar.
So yeah, what I think we should do first is kind of talk about what we mean when we say scholarly.
Yeah, let's start there. What does that mean?
What is it?
I'm a dual enrolled student. I'm still in high school. I'm going to get my degree at Seminole State before I graduate high school. And you say something like that to me. I need a scholarly article. Why not just say regular article? What's the diff?
Yeah. So I mean, like, what makes something scholarly? There's certain qualities that we associate with scholarly information, right? Like it's comes from a credible source. Usually it's done by a researcher. Maybe it's somebody affiliated with a university or a research organization or something, but like they have the credentials to, understand the nuances of these topics. So when you have scholarly information, it's going to be much more in depth than you would see like a Wikipedia article or something, which is designed to just give you like factual information quickly. So that's kind of like one of the hallmarks of this is like, we're going to see actual science being done, like actual research. It might not always be scientific research. I mean, there's lots of like humanities research that might be more of like the philosophical kind of research, but it's still going to be scholarly. It comes from those experts.
If someone is a doctor of philosophy, will I find a scholarly article on like some aspect of like a human disease in a scholarly journal written by that doctor? They have a PhD in philosophy. Can they write a scholarly article about human biology?
Wow.
Well, they can't operate on you because they are not a medical doctor. So that's where the line goes.
Yeah, they've got some credibility, right? They're a scholar, but I don't think I can find a scholarly article from them on a subject that's outside of their area of expertise.
That's that last point, Nicole. That's where you want to go. So for everyone watching, you want to stay in your area field of expertise. So I always kind of use Indiana Jones. There was a recent Indiana Jones movie. It wasn't just in the 80s and the 90s. It was a recent one. And so he is what? He is a archaeologist. And so he's going out and doing all these adventures, and he's trying to find this this gizmo and that gadget and this rock and that thing to put into a museum so that everyone can study it and value it as a piece of culture. And so but he wouldn't do well as your point, in the medical field. He couldn't help you with your your aching teeth or your broken thumb, although he would be a doctor, but he's not a medical doctor. So that's kind of the difference there, but he would be a scholar in his field. So I think, again, we're taking that word scholar, and yes, what is your area of expertise? And Nicole said, do they have a PhD? Now, again, the person who has lived on the street for 100 years and knows that neighborhood, knows what buildings went up, what buildings went down, what flood the year was, and they've been there, they may be an expert on that street, but they don't necessarily need a PhD. So that's where it kind of gets really contextual in different situations. When you're a little itty bitty baby, your parents, they know every single thing and they're the ones in charge. But then as you get older, as we know, you start going, hey, mom, hey, dad, wait a minute. I'm kind of questioning that a little bit. So then that changes over time, right? And so.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was going to piggyback
on that.
No.
I was going to piggyback on that point. Like, sometimes, the expertise isn't necessarily defined by like the credentials. And I use construction a lot as an example. I work with the construction courses here, and there's not a lot of people with construction PhDs. And the ones that have the PhDs are the ones teaching the construction classes. But a lot of the expertise is in how long they've been working in the industry. If somebody's been putting roofs on houses in Florida for 35 years, well, they probably know about the materials. But when they write about it, they're still not writing it from a scholarly perspective. They're writing it from a point of expertise, but they probably don't know like the nuances of the science behind it. They just know why you pitch a roof a certain way for hurricane winds and things like that.
And Nicole, that's where you would probably start drawing in other experts in the field. So I want to bring in, remember that article that Ross Martin wrote in 2020 about this topic? Well, he's a scholar in the field. I'll bring him in. So again, if you have Bill Nye the Science Guy, he's probably going to reference who? Albert Einstein. They probably always reference them. If you have a philosopher, they're probably always going to go back to Socrates or Leonardo da Vinci. You're always referencing them. Why? Because they're scholars and they have expertise in the field, and so you want to kind of build on what they did. It's not just like you don't just come out of the planet wherever and like, hey, I'm a scholar. Who are you citing? Nobody. I know it all. Give me my PhD. It doesn't work like that.
Well, a crowd has gathered.
Well, I brought some illumination. We illuminated that combo. Hey, where did Rally go?
Oh no, leave on the border thing.
Oh, I don't think.
Our little border thing. Where is he? There's Rally. He's got his little scholar hat on. So I am a scholar of Googling. I have a PhD in Googling. And I mentioned the word scour in the intro, and that was kind of my little, it's like a tongue twister.
Yes.
How do we successfully scour said scholarly articles? I love it. Alliteration, a similar sound. So we are about to pull up Ross's screen share, and we're going to scour over scholarly articles to talk about navigating, like what's included, what's there, why it's there. We want to know how to successfully scour it. Now, scour can mean to clean, but it also can mean, and I was like, I thought I Googled it just to make sure I was getting it right, because lifelong learner, okay, I'm not always right. I have to double check myself, triple and quadruple check sometimes. I'm like, I know it means searching. And yes, somebody is like, doesn't it mean searching? And yes, you are thoroughly looking through something. So that's what we're going to do. So, booyah. That's my little...
Let's do it. Scour, do your tongue twister again.
How do we successfully scour said scholarly articles?
Okay, all right.
I was hoping for a club, that would have been.
I see you.
Yeah,
I seriously see you.
Hey, you know what? You know what I'm also an expert in? Cringe. Oh, cringe. That is cringe.
That guy looks like me. That looked like, why does it end like that? Stop that. That's horrible. Stop that.
Listen, Jason and I were recently at the Foundation Dream Gala to raise scholarship money for our students at Seminole State College. We'll plug that later in the program today, real quick. Jason, I took the original video. I made it super cringe. You have the original video, so let's see what you can do it. challenge for next week.
Okay, next week I'll work on it. And the reason is because of a song, and we don't want to play the song, and then we get dinged on the song and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But
so we have to be
I liked the wacky music better, and Nicole, so I did one solo, and then Nicole and I both did one, but we were back to back, so we couldn't see what each other were doing, and then I almost fell off the thing.
You did? Oh my god! We had a great time.
Anyway, that was fun
for the students. Okay, scouring scholarly articles.
All right, so I went to the library here because the library is a reasonable place to look for scholarly information. And I ran a search in one of our research databases. This one's Academic Search Complete. And what I thought would be interesting to look at here is when you do a search, I think there's this, misconception sometimes that everything in a library is scholarly. And I even work with some professors who will use those words interchangeable. They'll say, oh, well, you have to go find library sources. When what they really mean is they want you to use scholarly sources. So I ran this search and I found several things in here from periodicals. Well, a periodical in library world is just another word for a magazine, right? This came from Health Magazine and New Statesman. Now, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, magazines typically are not going to be a scholarly source. They're written by journalists, right? Like their job is to inform and entertain, and there's good information out there in magazines for sure. I mean, there's legitimate reasons why you might choose a magazine over scholarly information. But when we're looking for scholarly sources, we're looking for these things up here. These academic journals are a really good source of scholarly information. Sometimes you'll even hear them called peer-reviewed journals. Nicole mentioned that earlier there. And you can even see there's a little box to sort by peer-reviewed in here. But that brings up something. Like, is every journal peer-reviewed? Is every scholarly piece of information peer-reviewed? Not necessarily. Most are. I would say most every academic journal that you find nowadays goes through some level of peer review. And even here, if I was to sort this out, I can see, well, there's 15 journal articles. We could even see, are any of them not peer-reviewed? The answer is no. All of them in my search came up are peer-reviewed academic journal articles. That makes me feel really good about them being scholarly information. I guess we could talk about what peer review means while we're here, right? Like, what is it?
Yeah, what's peer-reviewed, Ross?
Remember we recently had, if you go back, we had a recent program, we had a peer-reviewed published author on the program, Rachel. Claire, one of our fellow librarians, Claire's sister, she does science research out west. So I'll have to link that in the description box below.
Yeah, and Ross, before you jump in, keep in mind that you can look at some of the information here when you're evaluating. I see the icon, it says academic journal. I can locate a volume number and an issue number with a page range, and I also see a DOI, a digital object identifier, and that starts with that 10 there. You can actually cut and paste and put that into a browser, and it should pull up. That's like the article or the journal articles, social security number or tattoo. It's never going away. It's tied in. So these are easy ways, and you'll notice all of the names of these journals are italicized for a reason. These are clear indicators that you're going to find a scholarly or an academic source, but we're still trying to debate, what does that mean? What does a scholarly source mean?
I had a student the other day notice that EBSCO in particular, the EBSCO group of databases, does a really good job of labeling things so you can tell you're looking in an academic journal. And then they have, and a lot of the other vendors do have similar things, but EBSCO really granularly labels everything. So it's very clear what type of article you're looking at. Very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I love those labels that they put on this. Like, it'll tell you exactly what you're dealing with. Like Jason said, DOIs are kind of a telltale sign you're dealing with scholarly sources. Not every journal has one, but most do nowadays.
And when they do, that just, again, that that you're getting something of quality and that it has the DOI. Another thing, students, is when you're looking up, Ross, if you could just scroll up a little bit, always make sure there's an author for anything. but that's multiple authors. And my math is not good, but when all those people, they're not all going to, math ain't my thing. But when everyone, they're not going to put their names on this journal in print because they all have higher education degrees to be wrong. They're not going to go out of their way to like be foolish and go, oh, I'm not even bothering with this. I'll phone this one in and then put their name on it. No, they're not doing that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 5,000 authors there. My math isn't so good, but that's more than one. Anyway, so keep going. That's a clear indicator that it's going to be a reliable, credible source.
And you can even see those affiliations. Like I can see at least one of the authors is in the animal physiology unit of the Department of Veterinary Medicine at the University of. They have their credentials listed right there, so we know.
You just politely trailed off. You didn't even want to attempt it.
I wasn't going to try.
So adept. Such.
Yes. You see the university on there. They teach at a university. They're professors. They have these degrees. You can also email them. Another indicator of how you do evaluation. When you click on those links, it'll either pop up to their email. I believe the top one had their email, but the other ones should probably pop open to other articles that they've written before. That's another thing. If they've written and published other academic journals before, they are an academic. This is a scholarly conversation. Keep all this in mind, students, when you're doing the evaluating. And the date looks pretty good, too. It's well within 6 months, 7 months. Yeah.
Speaking of scholarly conversation, that means that whatever conversation is going on around whatever topic is going on in this scholarly article, it's not like okay, I did research and that's it. Case closed. We're done. No.
It's over.
Before these 8 million or whatever, however many you quantified it, Jason,
it's a lot.
Authors wrote this article, okay? They looked at the research on, what's the title? It's
cats, emotional odors.
Yes, they would have. And there should be a summary of prior research in this scholarly article where these authors showed, okay, we read all the other information we could find, pretty much almost everything about the relationship between asymmetric nostrils and the odors of cats. Okay, I don't even know what this is. I'm not an expert in this field. Okay, and there's an abstract. Was the first thing we saw. What's an abstract?
Well, yeah, let's go back and look at that. I jumped ahead a little bit because I was trying to verify that this one had a literature review. But yeah, that's another thing I'm always looking for in a scholarly source is this abstract. Every scholarly article is going to give you an abstract, which is somewhat of a summary of what they did in their research, what they were looking for, what they found maybe. And you can really briefly see, like, is this going in the direction that I want it to go in? Like, is this something that I think I can use as evidence? And I can see right here, they found in their research, there's findings. Like, they did a study, they came to some conclusions, and that's what we're looking for. You know, whenever we're doing our own research, we're looking for that evidence that will help answer our research question.
I also see they note that the abstract was written from the author. So they're being very transparent about, hey, we that did the study wrote this abstract, because they are going to have a layer of like insider blindness, like expertise blindness, or even bias. So they want to make sure, like as you're reading the study, that the author did this abstract. So that's one more piece of data about it. So that once again, they're being very transparent, very thorough with all the data you could know about this article that was published by them.
Yeah, and you're going to have sources. So, Ross, if you click into the article, you either have the PDF there, or you could do the HTML full text. You're going to see sources for where they got this information from. And again, those are going to be other scholars in this field. This is, of course, the odoriferous cat nostril field, very specialized area. Well, they have, Nicole, they have. There's a whole school for it, cat noses, and they know all about it. But as Ross has gone down to the bottom, so those are the references, and those are all the authors of the material that was kind of plucked and used to reinforce the argument here.
And Jason, if we use this article in our paper, we don't have to reference these references unless we go to one of those articles. Okay. So if you're using the article of the nostrils and the odor of cats, whatever references they reference, you don't have to also reference them. Like that's like included in the package.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see they've done their research. They've based their research on all of this existing information to come up with a new study, right? Like that's how this scholarly conversation unfolds.
Right. And keep in mind, too, if you start to notice the same author, I don't know if we were able to see it, Ross, when we went to all the references, but let's say you see Jones. Let's say you see K. Jones. And we're doing cat nostrils and odors. You keep seeing K. Jones, K. Jones, K. Jones. That's a scholar in the field, right? If you want to find out about how to slam dunk, I think you're going to ask LeBron James, right? So you're going to ask, but if you keep seeing the same name, that's kind of that Indiana Jones thing again. Do you remember from any Indiana Jones movie? It didn't matter where in the world this guy was. Some foreign nemesis was like, oh, Dr. Jones. Like everybody knew this guy. So he was world renowned because his work spoke for him. But keep that in mind too when you're looking at the references. See if you can see the same name multiple times, which you usually do. Do we find one?
Yeah, this person here, again, I'm not going to butcher that name publicly, but he or she is cited multiple times in this study. So my guess is they are an expert in this field. Like,
oh, yeah, Shlemansky?
Hey.
Is that
Shlemansky.
Oh, yeah, that's the cat. That's the famous cat nose cat odor scientist. Yes, from Davos, Switzerland. Zimboaskaway.
They're cited so many times.
Since they're experts and since scholarship is a conversation that doesn't end, I bet in this scholarly article, we can find a spot where these authors have also recommended, hey, based on our findings of this study that was for this, and we put in this article, we recommend these things be looked at in the future. Or we recommend if we redid this study, we could do this differently. Because again, that does not like, oh, cut and dry and paste and we're over. We're done talking about cat nostrils and odors.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a great topic. This is not a catastrophe at all. This is catastic.
But anyway, so let's look at those sections. Let's make sure we go over a few more of those sections.
What caught my eye here is
that's the same author
that was cited multiple times in here is also an author on this research.
Yep.
So that happens a lot in scholarship, especially when you find the people who are the legitimate experts on that topic. A lot of their own studies are going to cite their previous research because they're building on it. Just like we're doing on our research papers in school. Like we don't recycle our papers, but we can build on our existing knowledge as we go. But yeah, so when we're looking at a scholarly article, the good news is they're all written the exact same way on purpose. It's to help us, number one, identify scholarly information really quickly, and two, to help us make sense of it. If they're all laid out the same way, we can approach every one of them with a similar strategy. And they all start with an introduction. That's what we're seeing here. This is where they're going to tell you about what they're looking at in their study, what they already know based on all the existing research. You can see here there is a zillion citations in here. All of these numbers, well, they're pretty tiny in there. I don't know if I can make this a lot bigger, but I'm going to try. Okay, that worked kind of.
Okay.
But there's all of those citations in there. They're telling me what they already know about this topic. Because then we're going to get to their actual study. This is a scientific research article. Like, this is exactly what every one of them is going to look like. They're going to tell us exactly what they did in their study.
Because it has to be able to be replicated by any other expert in the field. It has to be clearly transparent of exactly how the materials, the methods, the timing, the who was involved, the ages of the men, everything.
That's part of peer review.
Replicated. If it cannot be replicated, then it's like, what are you even doing?
And if you scroll down, Ross, I believe it says, contrary to dogs and horses with a few citations, we found, meaning the authors, no significant asymmetries.
You're already at the results and conclusion?
A cemetery? That's not right. In the cat's nostril use while sniffing human emotional odors. So there's a lot to unpack there. The fact that dogs and cats do have significant asymmetries, and that why is the cat sniffing human emotional odors, and what is a human emotional odor? There's a lot going on in here. And Ashley Schubert, shout out to you from Professor Revel's class for sticking with us and watching this entire time. Because we've learned a lot about cats' nostrils, how Nicole and Jason dance at Dream Galas. We've learned a lot of different things here. But especially we've learned... There it is.
data analysis. So they're going to explain to you not only how they set up the study, but the
Right.
data they got from the study. They're going to tell you, they're going to break it down. Oh,
Yeah. They have, well, they have to document all of their research because that's part of the peer review process, is that it was all done ethically and responsibly. And like Nicole said, like it's repeatable research, right? Now, then you're going to see the results. This is where they're going to tell you everything that they found in their study using those math equations that they use to test their results.
the math ain't
I'll
math
be-
thing, and the math ain't my thing.
I'll be
That's not-
perfectly honest with you. Like the results sections almost always are over my head.
It's too much. Just tell us, yes or no. Did the cat
Yes.
smell the human odor in the nostril with the cat? I mean, like, come on. What kind of doctors are these, too? Like, I tried to Google it a minute ago, and actually, you guys, to be really honest, this is the article that came up in my Google search. I put up cat
I love it.
nostrils and doctors, and it's like, oh, do you mean this? By
That's are
the-
sensible to human emotional chemosignals conveyed. Wow. So that's
This is really what I'm looking for, especially as a student researcher.
Mhm.
I want to see the discussion section.
Mhm.
If there is one, sometimes it's the conclusion, sometimes it has both. But in the discussion section, they're going to tell you why those results matter. Like,
Yeah, while the results matter at the very end, but if you go all the way back to the very beginning, someone, and I would argue it's probably the first person that you see on this list, someone had a hypothesis. Someone said, hey, wait a minute, do you guys ever think about XYZ? And in this case, do you ever think that cats smell the human odors in the nostrils? Because apparently horses and dogs do, but what about cats? And they said, oh, we have a lot of time on our hands. Let's go ahead and get a bunch of people together, and they did. And apparently they all work at the Animal Physiology and Behavior Unit, the Department of Veterinary Medicine at the University of, I'll try it, Ross, Bari Aldo Moro in Italy. And then they did a
Sounds
whole
right.
experiment. And that's why those numbers come into play, is because they're trying to experiment and see the thing, and then they tell you the results. It's 11 pages. Some of the material is very dense. You know, you're probably like, what's going on? So look at the abstract at the very beginning, and then look at the results at the very end and see what you can pull.
Yeah.
This is going to be peer reviewed, meaning other
Mhm.
experts in that field look at it and go, huh, brr, 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 huh, or brr, 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 you need more here and stuff. And it does get pushed back. It does say, hey, we're not going to publish this.
Mhm.
That does happen. And you're like, but I have a PhD. I went to Barrio Aldo Moro in Bari, Italy.
Doesn't
Shout
matter.
out.
You have to go through those. Yeah, you have to go through those rigorous trials,
Right.
because that's how we can ensure that the scholarly information is credible.
And just to wrap it up, there it is, Ross. Overall, our study revealed the cats
Overall.
are sensible. They're sensible. Now, you have to deduce what that means. That's very subjective. To human emotional odors. I still don't know what an emotional odor is. And then what does it say?
Pheromones.
Regulate? Is that what it is? I can't see it,
I'm
Ross. You
guessing. I
gotta
didn't
go
see-
over this.
Hey, if I want to search for the word pheromones in one of these articles from one of our databases, I can search within that PDF, right? I'm trying to find the spot because it's different in the different databases.
With many of them, yes. Some of the older articles in here are not searchable with like a control F because they're just kind of flat images.
But
But
this
they-
PDF is control F. Can we control
Let's see.
F?
I don't know.
Pheromones.
Sometimes,
Uh-oh.
Nicole, it's when you, it works
I
here,
was wondering
but
if
sometimes
I
it
could
works
find-
too when you download it. But it does look like it works.
Yeah, it just depends.
That's what you have to do with those older articles. You have to download it first, and then it's searchable. But it's not searchable from like the PDF viewer, just because it wasn't encoded that way.
Cringe.
Okay.
Always cringe.
Okay. I
By
think
the
we got it.
way, there was no anecdata in that research. In a scholarly article, there's no anecdata. There's no anecdotes. I mean,
No, it's pretty straight up. Again, we thought this about the cats, and then at the very end it says, well, we concluded something about the cats and the pheromones and the emotional odors of the humans or something. They did a great job with whatever they were studying, but you can see how micro it can get. It's like, let's study this. Somebody's going to get a grant. They're going to get some money to do it. There was 6 or 7 people on that whole thing. They're all contributing. Then they send it off. Then other people in that field look at it and go, cat nostril this and cat nostril that. And then if it gets approved, then it goes through. And it's an arduous, and it takes a long time too, my friends. It's not a light switch. I mean, it's probably maybe a year, maybe even 2 years.
At least a year, usually.
We wrote that our library director, we wrote an article that's going to be in a book that won't be published until 2025. We wrote it 2 years ago almost.
Like, plug it.
Oh, sorry.
It's not here, but it's not published yet, so we can't plug it. Something I want to plug really quick is we played our little cringy video that I made from the Dream Gala Foundation scholarships. The due date is coming up. The where is it? Foundation, blah blah blah. Apply. Yes, during the month of March, everybody. You as a student can apply for the scholarships. I don't know where it just went.
It's there. I see it.
Yes, the foundation. So we'll talk about it. The scholarship application period is going to be open during the month of March. So we'll plug that again. Reminders. We'll have signs in the library because there's money out there to help you with your tuition, with books, and all those things. So yeah. Jason, do you have that picture? What else you were up to? We flew across the country.
Oh yeah, where did that picture go? Let's see.
You flew across the country to promote things that we have going on here at Seminole State.
That's not it.
Every Wednesday, besides the research rally, we have Lunchberry and Nightberry. We team up with Student Life, the Career Center. If you're watching and you haven't been to any of these things, it happens every Wednesday. If you go to Raider Connect, if you Google Seminole State Raider Connect, or actually literally just Google some Raider Connect, it'll pop up. You can see everything that's going on. We have different themed programs. Again, Career Center, Student Life, library people. Okay, so yes, Jason flew across the country to promote this. It was awesome.
I was in Seattle. Let's just do the pictures. So did the first year experience conference for all the students in the first year experience, and I believe that's
You did this because scholarship is conversation, and we keep talking about things. Oh,
there's me. What's up, everybody? That was just a blurb about our Nightberry and Lunchberry. Oh, there's a weird picture of me there. Yeah, look at that.
Crowd gathered. They were like, "What's going on here?" They're
like, "Wow, the future's so bright there with Nightberry." And then this was the thing outside. You could see. Look at this. Is kind of funny if you care. It started at 9. Can you see up in the upper right corner? What time was I there? I was like, I'm going to be early for my presentation. And then we had a bunch of people that were there, and they kept coming in and stuff. So yeah, it was a great time. Good time. Cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, so yeah, we've been talking about the scholarly stuff today. Of course, if you need help with scholarly articles, finding them, breaking them down, using them for your paper, we're here to help. Librarians, you can chat us anytime, literally. Where is it? Chat.
We have
an URL for it. Here it
is. If anybody needs the attendance for today, we'll go ahead and get this here. Ashley, we got you. It looks like there are 2 watching, so that means times 4 billion, so it's 800,000. Mm-hmm. Well, they were on there, but then I showed them my pictures and they stopped watching. So.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. And we're here every Wednesday and always in the library, one of us. And, come and see us. We're cool, obviously. Cringe, but cool. Obviously. Okay, we do what we can. And we're here to help you. So don't be shy. There's no bad questions. There's no question too big. There's no question too small. We're here to help you. And we can't wait to see you at the library.
Hey!